Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here today at the launching of both the 21st Century Renaissance and my book, Nano-science, the small things in life. That's the trouble with nano notes, they're difficult to find. I worked with Robert on the 21st Renaissance, and that's quite an interesting and enlightening experience. And in the process of that, I became very interested in looking at ways we can actually get the message of the 21st Century Renaissance out to the broader public. And so the idea of writing a novel came to me. Now, I don't know if you know much about nanotechnology, and as the subtitle is The Small Things in Life, just imagine a human hair, the width of a human hair, and now imagine 1/20,000th of that human hair, and you have the size that scientists are working with to create models to do with nanotechnology and various aspects that may or may not help our society. What I find very interesting about the nanotechnology and the whole nano world is that and this has been mentioned before today, that everything we do, everything we produce in the world has an impact on the environment, and it has a negative impact. And everything that we make, everything we manufacture also leaves in its wake waste from that product as well. Nanotechnology is the only technology I know of where you actually produce something almost from nothing and leave no waste behind in the process of it. It's quite an extraordinary thing. What they call standard physics is based on the principle of reductionism, that you basically reduce everything down to its smallest component to learn about it. So in effect, what you do is you learn to explain things by killing them. You learn how things work by destroying them. And with nanotechnology, this isn't the case, because what we have is a reversal in the whole way of science, because instead of actually breaking things down to their smallest component, we're actually taking the smallest components and building things up. And I find this really amazing. It's almost like that nanotechnologies are modern day wizards producing something from nothing. So that to me is quite an exciting prospect. So I decided to write this book, Nanofuture. One of the characters in the book is based on Professor Robert Pope. He's Professor Robert Bishop. And he is there to enlighten the major universities in America in the book. There are many interesting characters in the book. The main character is a retired billionaire who wants a better future for his grandchildren. And so he meets together with a group of diverse people, creative people, to come up with something called NEW, which is New Ethical World. And Robert Pope becomes part of the team to work with New Ethical World. What I found very interesting in the book and doing the research is that in areas of nanotechnology, the most extraordinary things are happening in areas of energy, in areas of food. I mean, just imagine that you can actually make a steak without having a cow. You know, it's an extraordinary thing, because once you can actually deal at the level of atomic and molecular structure, and you have the blueprints to make things, you can virtually make anything you want. And that could solve a lot of problems, because it means there need be no starvation in the world. It means that the water can be pure. It means all these things, a lot of seemingly unsurmountable problems can be dealt with. So I decided to do it in a novel form. Make the story a bit light, a bit interesting, with a bit of adventure to it. And what I discovered in the process of it is that when it comes to ethical nanotechnology, which is crucial in my book if we are to have a sustainable future, is that not when it comes to the other side of it, because there are, as Robert mentioned, these potential horrific nano weapons that the industrial military complex is producing, because they get basically what's happening is that the industrial military complex is getting most of the funding in these areas, and so whereas the medical side, the dealing with the platonic fullerene chemistry, medical science, is not getting anywhere near the share it needs to make this work for everybody. We talk about ethics in nanotechnology, we talk about ethics. And while I was writing the book, I was thinking, well, what is ethics? Well, how can we explain it in such a way that everybody can have an agreement with it? Because everybody has their own idea of what ethics is. And the one thing that sort of came to me was that ethics has to be for the good of all. It has to be a win-win situation for everybody. If it's not the case, it's not ethical. This is what I came to in the writing of the book, and I realised that not only do we have the situation where horrendous weapons can be produced that could destroy society, that could make nuclear weapons pale in comparison, but there's also the very strong possibility that if this nanotechnology is not driven by ethics and is driven by an entropic mindset and designed by an entropic mindset, the most horrendous accidents could occur that aren't even weapons, but the possibility of something going wrong is very high, a high probability. We already have people trying to create black holes in laboratories around the world. You know, I mean, it seems absolutely maniacal that anyone would even think of wanting to create a black hole, because it's like, okay, I've succeeded, whoops, and that's it. So I'd like to say, a lot I could say about this, but I'd like to say that I really enjoyed writing this book, and I hope that you will enjoy reading it. Thank you very much.